Sophie Cunningham's off-season decision casts doubts on Fever return, says Analyst. Having a veteran like Sophie Cunningham, who always stands up for her teammates, is a true advantage. But as free agency looms, turning mutual interest into a signed deal won't be easy. Technically, I'm not signed to Indiana, she admitted. She remains open to other offers, leaving Fever fans anxious, and the front office has a tricky task ahead. The next team I play for, I want a bigger contract so I can buy a house, be homey and cozy, Sophie revealed on a recent episode of Show Me Something. It seems like she was hinting at Indiana Fever, what will be needed to resign her. According to Robin Lundberg, the Indiana Fever will need to weigh the off-court and on-court aspects. Her, Sophie Cunningham, celebrity probably exceeds her slot on a roster as far as where she's evaluated, meaning she's like an upper-level role player, as far as a basketball player, but a superstar as far as branding and all that stuff goes, Lundberg said on his YouTube channel. Cunningham averaged 8.6 points, 3.5 rebounds, 1.2 assists, and 1.0 steals per game in 2025, while shooting a career-best 43.2% from the three-point line. However, her brand value has skyrocketed after associating with the Indiana Fever. The Tres Leches with Lexi Hull and Caitlin Clark was a popular term throughout the season. Sophie was branded as the enforcer on the Fever side after that J.C. Sheldon incident. Cunningham has leveraged that to multiple deals. Her podcast with Colin Cowherd's The Volume Digital Media Company, Arby's, Ring, and Spindrift. Combining both, Lundberg asserted. So, she would be in line for a raise, I think, in production and what she brings to the table. But do the Indiana Fever really need Cunningham's off-court advantage? They are already one of the most popular teams in the league, with a fan base that any other franchise is aspiring towards. They are second in terms of average attendance. Courtesy of Caitlin Clark, they have the premier needle mover of the league. You also have to do the cost-benefit analysis of what's the length of the contract. What's the value of the contract that you're willing to give her relative to what the rest of the market looks like? And who else could be available? Lundberg concluded. The cost will depend on what the new CBA would look like. The franchise will have to plan for Aliyah Boston's renewal next year and Caitlin Clark's renewal another year down the line. If the Indiana Fever can get a better on-court wing suited to their system, Sophie Cunningham's signature could fall their priority list, especially if it takes too much of their cap. Since Cunningham is looking for a long-term contract, Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston could be the reason the Fever doesn't resign her. Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston obstacle for Sophie Cunningham's return. According to the latest reports, the current CBA proposal includes a supermax salary closer to $850,000, and the veteran minimum is hovering around $300,000 in the first year of the proposal. However, that was a month ago, and the number should have gone up since then. We can assume Sophie Cunningham's salary to be at least triple, since she is asking for a long-term contract. Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston's timelines form a major issue for her Indiana return. For next season, Kelsey Mitchell will get a supermax contract, considering she is the No. 1 priority. Lexi Hull will also get a major increase, and she is more important to this squad. When Cunningham tore her MCL this past season, Hull replaced her in the lineup. She brings a different profile as compared to Cunningham, a more defensive cover, a little less shooting. Her playoff performances have left a strong impact on the front office and the fans. Hull averaged 7.2 points, 4.3 rebounds, 1.8 assists, and 1.2 steals in the regular season. In the playoffs, they jumped to 10.3 points, 2.0 assists, and 5 rebounds. Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston are still on their rookie deals. However, Boston is due for a renewal immediately after next season, when her contract expires. Boston will get a significant increase and take up much of their future cap. If that was not rough, Caitlin Clark is up for hers after 2027. Clark's renewal is as important as Michael Jordan's for the Bulls. See the problem for Sophie Cunningham? The Indiana Fever are building on the likes of Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston. They are Fever's superstars who are supposed to bring titles. In addition, Cunningham is almost 30 years old, coming off an MCL tear. It is questionable whether she is the same player once back. Fever will have to gauge whether a multi-year contract with Cunningham in such a situation is a smart business decision.